According to global energy statistics, Africa currently exports 70% of its crude oil and 45% of its gas, and Africa has the least access to energy. The question is, where did Africa go wrong? During the first Oil and Gas Expo, an event that was organized by the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, Dr. Farouk Ibrahim, the General Secretary of the Petroleum Producers Organization, APO, observed that Africa got it wrong from the very beginning, where oil and gas development followed the colonial tradition, and that the industry was structured to serve foreign and not domestic needs, where he urged African nations to collaborate together to use their oil and gas resources to end energy poverty.
Why must Africa export oil and gas when it has the largest proportion of the global population living in energy poverty? Why must African countries export oil and gas when our factories are daily shutting down because of lack of electricity? Our patients are dying in our hospitals because there is no electricity, and our productivity is a fraction of our potential because the energy to realize the full potentials are exported.
As part of the efforts to commercialize Uganda's newly found oil and gas resources, the government of Uganda and Tanzania are to construct the East African crude oil pipeline that will export the crude to the port of Tanga. Dr. Farouk Ibrahim suggests that Uganda, as a newcomer, has to move fast to acquire skills and technology.
As a newcomer, Uganda has to move fast to acquire the technology and the skills. Unlike the older players, Uganda does not have the luxury of time to learn the skills or acquire the technology.
Studies from the Petroleum Authority of Uganda have shown that every $1 directly invested in the oil and gas sector is expected to yield direct growth of the GDP by $0.6. Therefore, a direct investment of $15 billion, that's 33% of the Uganda's current GDP, is estimated at 45 billion in the oil and gas sector, is expected to yield direct growth of the GDP by close to $9 billion. That's close to 20% of the current GDP by the time oil is achieved.
That the GDP of Uganda has an opportunity to double in 5 years as a result of the oil and gas sector. Now, if a country's GDP doubles in 5 years, I don't know how many economists are in this room, you know how phenomenal that will be. If our GDP now is about $47 billion, if in 5 years' time it can approach $100 billion, it's a big leap.
A study conducted by Apple recently found that there are three major challenges in the oil and gas sector in Africa. They include funding, expertise acquisition, and the challenge of finding markets for oil and gas in an event that the developed countries succeeded to shift from no-fossil energy.
A major study conducted by Apple on the future of the oil and gas industry in Africa in the light of the energy transition identified three imminent challenges for the industry. These are the challenge of funding of oil and gas projects, the challenge of technology and expertise acquisition, and the challenge of finding markets for our oil and gas in the event the developed countries succeed in moving away from oil and gas.
As part of the solution, experts advocated for the need for the African governments to devote more money within their budgets to develop oil and gas resources, given the declining interest from the oilmen from the West and the Asian countries. Pedson Mumbere, Smart24 TV, Business Today.